And that's my cue to start the show. Welcome to another live edition of the Hard Rock and Sports Show, live from High Top Hard Rock and Sports Studios in beautiful scenic Monroe, New Jersey. We are your 2-hour weekly get-together. We bring you all the biggest news from around the world of hard rock, heavy metal, of course, the wide world of sports. And guys, welcome to Thursday, March the 27th in the year of our good Lord 2025. And yes, if you're asking, I am exhausted today. I've had a very rough week, and it ain't over yet. But we're going to push through, do the best we can to get you a show. And we appreciate you tuning in. We're waiting on Jeff to show up. In the meantime, while we're doing that, we'll do our usual rant. We'll start. We got a lot to talk about tonight. Obviously, the big news around, I guess the biggest news would be quarterbacks in the NFL. The season's over, but football never goes away. And right now there's so many stories. You have two quarterbacks, neither are signed in Pittsburgh. And Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. You have the Aaron Rodgers saga. He's calling teams trying to get a job. What will the Falcons do with Kirk Cousins? Will they keep him? Will they sign him? There's so much to talk about there. Obviously, there's the big news has been the Matthew Stafford. Will they cut him, trade him, keep him, sign him? He's looking for more money. Who else are we talking about? There's one more. And of course the Minnesota with whether they franchise tag, sign Sam Darnold. Do they trade J.J. McCarthy? Do they award J.J. McCarthy the job? And I've heard the rumor of them trying to keep Daniel Jones as the backup, which I don't know if he's interested in doing that. He is a free agent. So quarterback carousel this winter into spring is going to be huge, and a lot of it's going to determine what happens in the first round of the draft. The Titans have number 1, Cleveland has number 2, Giants at number 3. All three teams probably need a quarterback. The Titans have one, but they're looking for another one. Do they trade down? There's a lot of hungry teams. Do people buy in on Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders? There's a lot of questions right now in the world of quarterbacks in the NFL. Who do you pay? How much do you pay them? When is it time to cut bait and move on? We're going to get into all of it because there's a lot to break down. So we'll get to that. I want to talk about the passing of Gene Hackman. I'm not going to get into what happened and theories. I've heard multiple things. Sad story, no matter what happens. And I think one of the most underrated actors of our time, whether it's the French Connection, which I wasn't a huge fan of, or Poseidon Adventure, so many movies, of The Replacements. To me, his best role, and I like Crimson Tide, there's been so many, was Hoosiers. And that it kind of ties into the sports theme of the show. Hoosiers is one of the best sports movies of all time. Why? 1, the story was great. 2, the acting was very good. And 3, the basketball was really good. 1, it kind of depicted the time. You didn't get a lot of guys who were tremendous athletes of that time. They just looked like they were playing back in the 1950s Indiana. And it's one of those movies for me that I could turn on at any point and watch. Mississippi Burning. So Gene Hackman, to me, very underrated actor. When people always talk about the best actors of all time, De Niro, Pacino, Duvall, this one, that one, Nicholson. I say this about Pacino. Couple of the best movie roles of all time, obviously, is Michael Corleone. But really, and Dog Day Afternoon, a great movie. But realistically, after the 80s, what has Al Pacino done? I mean, honestly, tell me a great movie he's been in or a great role he's had. De Niro is probably the better actor. But again, the last 10 or 15 years, what has he done? Duvall's disappeared, and Duvall, to me, was a great second guy. Except for his great Santini and maybe a couple other roles. He was always good as the number 2 guy or kind of a second. Nicholson, great actor. Crazy, but a great actor. Gene Hackman had some amazing, people talk about Dustin Hoffman and Morgan Freeman and Samuel L. Jackson and this one and that one. Lots of great actors. But those other guys, and I'm no De Niro fan. I think he's a punk. So, and I won't watch his movies ever again. But, there's no discounting that his early movies and a lot straight through Meet the Fockers. And, while I'm not a huge fan of the movies, he had some funny parts and he played it pretty good. His last few, Dirty Grandpa and the Intern, horrendous. He needs to retire. But neither here nor there. We'll talk about the passing of Gene Hackman, Four Nations hockey tournament. We'll talk about the Jets owner receiving the worst owner in the NFL distinction by vote, basically by his players and former players. We'll talk about the Yankees getting rid of their no beard policy and what you think of it, and I'll give you what I think of it. We'll talk about the UFL ditches their onside kick rule, and we'll do as much as I can for as long as I possibly can tonight. Like I said, I'm pretty exhausted today. I've had a rough week, but I'm going to push through. In the meantime, I see Jeff's up. Let's get the show kicked off, and I hope you guys stick around for as long as we do this. And thank you for doing that. In the meantime, what a horrible way to go out. A legendary actor. And of course, she forgot to shut the car off in the garage. Is that official? What happened, Matt? Because I did not. This morning when I heard it, the first thing I thought of was carbon monoxide poisoning. Then they said she'd been mummified and there were pills on the floor. One of the dogs died. If that's what happened, boy, oh boy, what a shame. That's a terrible way to go. And unfortunately, probably could have lived a few more years. He didn't seem to be in bad health. Just seemed to be frail. I mean, the guy's 95 years old. So, oh, boy. But we'll talk more about that. We'll talk about the USFL. We got a lot of football talk to get to. Lots to do on this Thursday night. Not much happening in the world of sports, so I hope you guys stick around. We'll try to get a little music in. In the meantime, let me get my partner in crime on, and one and only Mr. Sexy Jeff Darwin. What's up, Jeff?
I'm almost ready, Tom. Wait a minute now, okay? Don't rush me. I already won on Sunday.
Here we go.
So everybody knows, Tommy came to my house on Sunday and got an ass kicking.
About an ass kicking, but Jeff beat me. The first time we played Madden together, I got whooped 50-something to
no. Who beat?
Go ahead.
The Jets defense was too much for the New York Giants and Daniel Jones, and you know it.
Well, Daniel Jones did throw for 350 yards, which was much, much more than your quarterback, who we'll talk about more in length.
That's all right. I ran for about 250 yards.
I will agree.
And Daniel Jones, we were giving him the whole field if he even had time to throw the ball.
Well, that was the difference in the game. Your pass rush definitely negated my offense and it's elite throwing. So I bow to you for this one, but the tide has changed. The tide has changed, and on our next one, I will feel much more confident. You will choke like you almost did this past Sunday.
I'll say this much right now in front of everybody, anyone that's listening. I'm laying an open challenge down to this bitch right there.
Okay.
If he wants to come and get some, more than welcome to come get it whenever he wants.
I certainly will do that. And I certainly will take you up on the challenge and have fun when I spike in your garage, in your off-season room or your four-season room. So we'll get more to it. Sunday had the air conditioning on in there. That's how hot it was.
Yeah, I know it was fucked up, right?
He had the air conditioning on in there. But we got a lot to talk about tonight. There's plenty of sports to get to. Not much in the way of music. We'll see what we got. In the meantime, Jeff, let's kick off the show like we do every week. Jeff, how was your week?
Hard to top this week, Tom.
Oh, really?
Sold an amplifier, made some money. I had you and Paul over, got to hang out, went to the studio, got to jam. Took a few days off to go to a doctor and a dentist, and it's over.
Wow!
And can't beat that, man.
No, listen, I have to tell you, it was fun to come out and hang out, and it was a nice surprise when Paul came over too. We got to kind of bullshit and hang out a little bit, and the studio was fun. I would tell you, I felt about as off as I ever have playing. I just didn't feel comfortable. I don't know why, but it was just fun to be in the room. Everybody just doing their thing. And it was a blast. And I, again, look forward to the next one already.
Here's hoping, man.
Yeah.
But one of the things I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I'm excited about that wrestling list today, man.
Yes,
I hope you made one.
I did. I do have a wrestling list. Good.
I didn't know which way to go with this list, right?
Okay.
So I went, which I thought was the best way to go, and I don't know, man. I found myself taking a lot of modern names.
Really?
And what I mean by modern names within the last 15, 20 years.
Okay.
Yeah. But I'm interested. I mean, I'm talking wrestling because we bring up so much different stuff. I got a cat here.
Okay.
And, I enjoy it. But listen, and also, like 2 weeks now to free agency in the NFL?
Yeah, I think it's close. And again, obviously, right now the big talk right now, obviously, is the quarterbacks. There's Stafford and Rodgers and Sam Darnold and what's the kid's name in Atlanta? Just said it 2 minutes ago.
Cousins.
Yes, Kirk Cousins and
Cousins.
Obviously Justin Fields and Russell Wilson and to a lesser extent Daniel Jones. There's a whole bunch of people out there, Jeff, that are going to be looking for a job, new jobs, and it's interesting, and we're going to get to all of that. I want to talk about the Yankees changing their beard policy. I want to talk about Gene Hackman's passing. There's a lot to get to. The UFL, excuse me, they're not the USFL. The UFL has changed their they've eliminated their onside kick rule. So I want to get to all of that tonight. We're going to get to it, but you know what? Let's get my dad on first, see what he's got to talk about, and then we'll come back and do this. Get into the night. So let's get my dad and see what he's got to say. What's up, Pop?
What's up, guys? How you doing?
How you doing, Mr. Florio?
Very good, Jeff. I'm more interested in.
And that was a quick week.
Yeah, right? I'm sorry, we lost you for a second.
The draft.
Yep.
What's your idea of the draft? I mean, the Giants and the Jets got good picks.
Yeah, again, I think it's going to be what they solve in the and I don't think anybody is running to draft the top two guys in the first 5 picks of the draft. If those guys fell out of the top 10 into the top 20, maybe to the last half of the draft, people would probably jump at it. But I don't think anybody really wants to draft Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward in the top 10. I think there's better value with other quarterbacks in the draft. So I think if the Giants and or the Jets solve their quarterback issues in free agency, Jeff, I think they'll be less likely to draft a quarterback in the first round. I don't know how you think.
Well, I've seen different things in the mock drafts. I've seen Shedeur Sanders tied to the Giants. I've seen him tied to the Jets. I also seen Jackson Dart tied to the Jets.
Yep.
Later on in the draft, second or third round. And, listen, we all have our thoughts of what may happen, but I'm going to throw one out there for you.
Okay.
See what you guys think of this. If you're talking about a bridge quarterback, I wouldn't mind for the New York Jets to sign Justin Fields.
Yeah, I saw you talking about that during the week, and I got to be honest with you. He's an enigma to me, and he may be one of those guys like Geno Smith or some of these other guys who might have a better second part of his career. You know what I mean?
It's possible, but I'm thinking, you know what? With the Jets, any kind of weapon it would be looked upon favorably, I think. And why not? Why not have a quarterback that's a dual threat for once? I mean, no. I know he's not exactly a dual threat, but I mean, why not? With Breece Hall, that may be some running game.
Yeah, no, I get that. I think a lot of it's going to depend on what they do in free agency, especially at the quarterback spot. So I think if you're the Giants, you would love to sign a veteran quarterback. I think obviously they'd love to sign Staff or trade for Stafford, and then be able to draft Travis Hunter at 3, the corner wide receiver from Colorado, or Abdul Carter. Although I think Carter I saw today has some surgery. And I think it's the same thing for the Jets. I think at 7, if somebody fell to them, I think it might be a little early to go with the kid Dart. So, yeah, both teams need quarterbacks, but I think they would both rather solve their quarterback issues in free agency and then maybe draft a quarterback in the 2nd or 3rd round. That's my opinion.
I think to be honest with you, I'm not even looking at a quarterback because I think they need a couple of lines.
Yes.
They definitely need an offensive line.
Yeah, but the Giants, see, neither one of them are going to solve it in the 1st round. I don't see either one. They both have bigger needs than offensive line in the top 7 picks of the draft. So if I'm the Giants and I'm not taking a quarterback, I definitely, they need a big time corner. They need a big time pass rush, especially at linebacker. If they can get themselves a big time linebacker. So I would be surprised if unless they trade down. If they were to trade down to like say 10, 11, or 12, then I could see them grabbing an offensive lineman and grabbing an additional picks. Jeff, I don't know how you feel about it.
It doesn't seem, and nobody seems to be standing out in this draft right now. Abdul from Penn State, he just announced that, he was thinking about getting foot surgery now, and then it was doctors told him he doesn't need it. And Matt, I understand your point. I just think that the Jets need some kind of excitement. I'm not saying Justin Fields is the answer, but for a season or 2 where they have so many other holes, why not? It can't hurt.
No,
team's in bad shape as it is.
Yeah, see, again, if you're looking for a placeholder, he may be fine. Damn it, I gotta take this, guys. Give me 1 second. I gotta take this phone call for work. I apologize.
No problem.
Right,
Mr. Fleur, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
While Tommy's off to the side. He brought up earlier about the Yankees changing their facial hair policy and their long hair policy. What do you think of that?
I think it's so. To change it is one thing, but to make a formal announcement, like you traded for Babe Ruth or Lou Gehrig, it was the owner of the team. Come on.
Well, listen. While I hear you, and it was what would they had to be one of the last teams to even have that kind of policy in place.
It really wasn't that long. It was Steinbrenner that instigated it, that put it in. Why he did it, I didn't know. But
He wanted everybody to be trim, neat.
well, I understand that Yankees always wore suits. They were clean shaven, very rare. But to hold a formal,
I hear you. I hear you.
something that at the end of a newscast, you could say the Yankees allowed. I thought maybe they had a trade on in the air, and they wanted to let the guy know that they were going to let him wear his beard, because I thought it was kind of comical. I didn't see anything. But like Tommy said, I agree with what he's saying about the quarterback. But then if you're not going to pick a quarterback, trade your pick for a couple of picks.
Yeah, but you know what? This year, the draft, without a clear-cut centerpiece of the draft, so to speak, do you think that these draft picks are going to be worth anything? Like, is anybody going to give up the house to the Giants for the 3rd pick, or the Jets?
No, but you know that, Jeff. You get most of your first round picks don't even make it. You got to be very lucky. You know they were doing a thing on Tom Brady. What was he? 6th round pick?
No, he was one of the. He was in the 7th round. I don't remember what
right.
round. And he was back.
He was way back. You got to get lucky. You got to get the right one, the right place. I don't know if there's any, even basketball. Most first round draft picks are gone within the first year or 2. They're just not.
I know, but with nobody standing out in the draft right now, it's going to be even harder to get, a lot of picks in the draft. You're only going to get so much for these picks without, who's the big name, the big face in the draft this year that true. Everybody is going to go wild over. Usually there's
the only one that I really don't want to see is the Giants go with that Sanders said Deion's son.
Yeah. Shador Sanders.
because once you draft him, you know you're drafting the father.
Yeah, the show will start.
Eventually, that's it's going to happen,
Yep.
and maybe it's just personality, but I don't like that guy.
I hear you. I mean, he
I
doesn't bother
remember him
me.
with the Yankees, and he was a peon back then, and he got the Riot Act wrote to him by Colin Fisk. I don't know if you remember that.
No, I do not.
Yeah, he played. He was drafted originally by the Yankees.
Okay. Didn't he play a season or two with the Yankees?
Excuse me?
Didn't he play with the Yankees for a season?
Yeah, he played. He actually played. He got drafted. He got played for them. Then what happened was he was one of those. He hit a foul ball, and instead of running to the first base, just in case, he started walking to the dugout. The ball fell in. It was a foul ball. No, the guy caught it. I'm sorry. And the next time he got up, Fisk came from around the plate and tore him a new butt. Right on TV. Pointed the finger at him and everything. And they asked Fisk, what did you say to him? He said, I told him you're playing with a championship team and in front of all these people. You should have the decency to run a ball out. Act like you want to play. He said and from that time on, he just clicked off with me, Sanders. I don't.
A lot of people said that he didn't try his hardest. Yeah.
No, he was typical like a lot of the young kids today. They hit, they don't like it. They don't, I should be hitting third. I should, you know.
It's a shame that it's
Sorry,
like,
guys. Sorry about that. I had to deal with a work problem. So,
Everything all right?
yeah, everything's fine. Just normal everyday garbage.
to be honest with you, we're taking the show over. We don't
Listen, by all means, I can
You
do it right now.
and then you showed up. What the fuck?
Everything good.
I got you. Hey, Matt, Dart is real. I agree, but nobody's taking him in the first round. Nobody's taking him in the early first round. If I were the Giants, would do it. I think he's got the size and the speed. He's kind of a poor man's Josh Allen type player. So I would take Dart. I just don't see anybody taking him that early. You would be really, getting some sideways looks on that one. Cleveland does need a quarterback. I don't know. I don't know who goes there. I mean, Deshaun Watson's out another year with an Achilles problem. So
That guy's got to be done.
yeah, I don't know if Carter will be the first pick in the draft. I could see the Titans trading down and somebody jumping up there to grab. I still think Ward and Shador Sanders go early. I have seen mocks, Jeff, where Sanders drops as far as the Jets.
Yeah,
So
I've seen it. It's been a hot topic the last couple of days.
Yeah, and it's not out of the question, and we'll get more into it. But hey, Dad, before you go, I got to ask you, what's your thoughts on the Yankees giving up the no beard policy?
We were just talking about. I find it not that they did it, but they made themselves to me look stupid.
Why?
Hal Steinbrenner come out, hold a press conference that they gave up on the beards. What was
Well, I think he would. What I think that was a message to everybody, because I don't know if they had specific people, but he alluded to the fact that there were free agents who wouldn't come here now because they didn't want to follow the no beard policy. So I guess he just wanted to make sure everybody understand that went out to it. And by the way, it wasn't a popular decision in their own clubhouse. I mean, Judge, who's Mr. Yankee right now and the team captain, basically said, you won't not see me with a beard. I'll shave every day. So, I think while I think it's ridiculous to have a press conference to say we're allowing beards, and I don't really like the policy, and we'll get more into it after, but I understand what he was trying to do was basically let everybody know, hey, we're open for business.
If you won't come to a team that's paying you millions and millions of dollars because you don't want to shave,
yeah,
you don't belong playing.
Well, that's what Judge said. Listen, if you don't want to come here and be part of this tradition because you have to shave your beard or cut your hair, then we probably don't want you anyway.
You don't need a guy like that.
Yeah.
Now you're bending over. You're getting these guys I can't wear my hair. I can't show. What was like that? Damon, the guy from Boston,
John Damon.
Johnny
John
Damon.
Damon. He didn't want to shave his. They had to measure his hair, see how far down it could, because it couldn't come past his shoulders. I mean, it was grown men. Give me $50 and I'll shave.
Yeah, well,
You know, but hey, whatever. All right, listen, enjoy yourselves. Tommy, I'll see you hopefully over the weekend.
Yep. definitely see you
Jeff,
over the
take care. It was nice seeing you, Jeff. Nice talking to you.
Same here, Mr. Florio.
And, you guys take care of yourselves.
Be good, man.
That's my daddy checks in every week. So Jeff, while we're on this on the topic of it, you want to give me your thought on the Yankees and their? I know you talked about it a little bit, but I'd kind of like to hear what you had to say.
Right there. That's what I have to say.
Well, I mean, I get it that you're a beard guy, but I'm saying as a traditionalist.
Yeah, as a traditionalist, I understand, but you want to know something? As a guy that has somewhat of a beard, I would I don't know if I would want to shave it off if I was a professional athlete. It's mine. I'm not saying that the Yankees, I understand the tradition and everything else behind it. When you think of some of the players that played on the Yankees, none of them that were like from the olden days, and I'm talking Ruth, Gehrig.
Yeah.
What's up, Will Cloak?
Will Cloak, welcome home.
Had beards or mustaches at the time. Matter of fact, if you think about it, who was the first really well-known Yankee that had a mustache? Was it maybe Thurman Munson, Catfish Hunter, Reggie Jackson? You know what I mean? Billy
Yeah, I
Walton
guess Sparky Lyle and the handlebar mustaches. I don't know. I'd have to go back and see. I don't remember too many pictures of Yankees back in the day. No.
Didn't have it. DiMaggio didn't have one.
No, I mean, listen. At least they're baseball cards and the pictures you've seen in them. But you're right. You did, but I don't even know if that was a rule back then. Like, I don't know when that rule started. I always thought it started under Steinbrenner in '73.
It did.
I don't know if but I don't remember seeing a Yankee who had a beard or major facial hair. The first one I could think of was probably that's still would be Dick Tidrow. He had a big thick one.
Dick Tidrow, Rich Gossage, Reggie Jackson, Sparky Lyle, like you say. Catfish Hunter was one that had one. Well, they were allowed to have mustaches.
Yes.
They weren't allowed to.
Yeah, no Fu Manchus, no goatees, no beards, no long hair.
Yeah,
it's interesting to me.
Although Oscar Gamble, when he was on the Yankees, remember that head of hair?
Yeah, it was. I guess it was okay to go this way. It just wasn't okay to go this way. There's that whole. There was that thing, and you ever hear that story? But Steinbrenner calls Lou Piniella into his office and says, "Hey, your hair's getting long. You need to cut it." And Lou Piniella says, George, I don't want to cut it. Jesus had long hair too. And Steinbrenner goes, "Come over here." And he walks over and he points to Lake Erie and he goes, "When you can walk across the water, you can have long hair." And that was Steinbrenner's answer. It's one of the
That's fucking great. You got to be kidding me. That's fucking
that is an actual story. You can look that up. I've read that in 2 or 3 different books. And
dude, that is a fucking classic, man.
He said, when you can walk across that water, you can keep your hair long.
And I know that you watched your share of Lou Piniella just as I did.
Yep.
In the late 70s during those championship runs, and his tantrums were legendary.
Oh yeah.
And I read the Bronx Zoo, the book.
Oh, great book.
And there was one. You may remember this story where he got thrown out of a game or he struck out or something. Lou Piniella. And he went in the fucking clubhouse with a bat and he smashed a coffee urn. There was nothing left of the coffee urn. And all he could find was this little coffee pot that made like 4 cups of coffee. And he made a fucking coffee pot full of coffee for the whole team. And they were like, Sparky Lyle said something like, we couldn't wait to come back into the back and have a cup of coffee. And he goes in there and there's like 1 coffee cup. And then meanwhile the fucking urn is completely destroyed. It was Lou Piniella that did it. So I was like, him and him bugging out. That's fucking great.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, it's just some great classic stories.
Oh my God.
Again, my first instinct when I heard it was I hated it. I'm a traditionalist. I don't want names on the back of on the shirts. I don't want long hair. I don't want the beards. I like the tradition. It just makes the Yankees different. They don't wear weird uniforms at home. They wear their pinstripes. They may wear something on the road sometimes. It's very rare. But the Yankees are a tradition, but I do get the fact that they need to kind of update it to maybe bring in some different people who might not be running to get there. But I did love Judge's response, and it kind of changed my thought on it. And Judge said, if shaving your beard keeps you from coming here, then we don't want you anyway. And I respect it. I do. I respect it a lot.
You know something? I understand what you're saying. I totally understand it. All right. And the Yankees are a team of tradition. But you want to know something? You already let so many other traditions go out the window. When you're letting your guys wear the pants long with no socks pulled up, that's just as well as letting the guy have long hair and a mustache and a beard.
Yeah.
Okay? Just tearing down Yankee Stadium instead of redoing Yankee Stadium and keeping Yankee Stadium. There's just certain ballparks that just should have never have left. Wrigley, Fenway, Yankee Stadium.
I agree. No, I agree.
Can't say that much about that. I could see closing Yankee Stadium and saying that we're going to redo it, revamp it. But, the house that Ruth built will stand forever. That's all I would have said.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the original Yankee Stadium should have been renovated to be more modernized maybe, but you kind of got to keep it. And then once you built the second one, I would have left that alone. I thought building the third one, it's kind of lost its historic appeal to me. It's not Yankee Stadium. This is the third version. I have an issue with that. But as far as the beard goes, I'm back to I don't like it. I want the Yankees to be different than everybody else. I want them to be a better standard, and I would prefer if they went back to the no beard policy. And if you don't want to play it because of it, bite me. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah. Oh, listen, there's enough players that play Major League Baseball. If they don't want to go there because the Yankees don't have a beard policy or, a haircut policy, then I hear you. But you know what? If you don't want to play for tradition as it is, and the tradition goes well beyond how long your hair is or how thick your mustache is, okay, well beyond that, then I don't know what to tell you. But you know what? Just knowing what the players that played there, and if you're a Major League Baseball player and you have the chance to go there and play a few seasons, I think saying that you played for the same organization as Babe Ruth, DiMaggio, Mantle, Gehrig, Jackson, and some of these others, that to me would hold more than I got to cut my hair.
Yeah. No. Listen, I got you. Well, again, hope see what you guys out there think about it. Let us know. We always like to get from that. I want to talk about. There's a lot to get to tonight, so I'm going to move it along. We got Gene Hackman and his career. I want to get to. We're going to talk about Woody Johnson and him coming up as worst owner in the league based on vote, basically by his own players. We'll talk about the some of the rules in sports that need to be changed or they're talking about changing. Let's see what else is on my list here. The Four Nations Hockey Tournament, and again, I want to get a little more in depth on the quarterback situation and how it affects the draft. And Jeff and I have our top 10 list of greatest wrestlers of all time. I got 9. I am stuck on my 10th guy, so I'm almost hoping I'll hear one in your list that will help me. So whenever you want to get to the list, you let me know.
Well, dude, let's do it now because you just said something that made me make a change.
Oh, really? Okay.
On my list, yeah.
Right.
But however you want to do this, let me know what you want to do.
Let's see. We'll each do our. I have it ranked in order. Did you rank in order? Or you just came up with a generic.
I just came up with names.
Okay. All right. So, I guess give me your first.
Why they're on the list?
Huh?
But reasons also why.
Sure, no problem. All right. So let's do the first 5 each.
Okay.
All right. So I'm going to work backwards on my list because I'm going to give you my top 5 when I get there. But right now we'll start from 10 and work our way up. So you go first, and you can throw your names out there and put it out there. So let's do it.
All right. Well, okay. So number 10, First of all, I pick guys for a couple different reasons. I pick guys for their contribution overall to wrestling and how they were as wrestlers.
Okay.
I feel as though that sometimes a good wrestler was not necessarily the guy that went around with championship gold, but helped move wrestling along for others.
Mm-hmm.
And when I go through my list, you'll see. And then, matter of fact, number 10 on my list is a guy that definitely made a sacrifice for wrestling. And he didn't have to do it, but he did. And that would be the Iron Sheik.
That's a good one. It's a very good one. He almost made my list. I pulled him out. But go ahead. Tell me why he's on your list.
Well, if the Iron Sheik, we both know wrestling is scripted to a very strong extent. I'm not going to say fully. And, listen, if the Iron Sheik didn't play nice, Hulk Hogan doesn't win the belt. Maybe Hulkamania is never born. They're playing the Garden once a month, every other month, and setting up in Wagner College.
True.
To this day.
Yeah, true.
So,
and might be the best heel of all time.
Yeah.
And a guy who never turned good guy, right? I know was always a heel. So, I mean, one of the best, if not the best heels of all time.
Yeah, so I felt as though that he needed to be on the list.
It's a good one. Go ahead.
Number 9, Superfly.
Made my list as well. Go ahead.
I felt as though that, here's a man that never got to win a championship in the WWE or WWF, but maybe ushered in the high flyers, the granddaddy of all of them, coming off the rope and landing on Morocco and climbing up on top of fucking Andre and diving off of Andre and everything that he's done. Killing his girlfriend was a marketed con. Column, but we overlooked the rest of that.
Yeah.
And I got Snooker. Okay. Number 8 is Andre. I don't think anybody's list should not have Andre on it. Andre is the original giant, man. There's other giants in wrestling, but none of them held water like Andre the Giant did. Stories in and out of the ring and just his performance in the ring would just made him special. Okay. Number 7, The Rock. I know that you're not a modern day wrestling fan, but The Rock was helped bring wrestling to a new height. He came in at the right time. I don't think The Rock would have survived in an earlier version of the WWE. Or WWF. Okay. Number 6 for me, Triple H. Another guy that was around at the right time. I think that Triple H could have survived in any incarnation of the WWE, WWF, but he was definitely a modern day wrestler. He had mic skills, as did The Rock, and he was guy was like a fucking mountain. He was an Adonis. I just think that he was in the right time at the right position, and now he's running the place. But that's my bottom 5. So
okay, again, we have some same. I have him in different positions, but we have a few of the same. I'll start off with number 10. I went with Snooker for basically the same reason as you. To me, Snooker was the first guy that kind of stood out. The high flying, the moves. Everybody else was kind of the generic wrestler. Next thing you know, he's barefoot. He's standing on the top rope. He's leaping in the air. He was the most exciting guy pre-1983 Hulk Hogan. Right? Yeah. So I agree with you. And I think the guy was a bit of a shady character, which is probably why he never got that next bump up to, a superstardom. I think there was a lot.
His body count is more than 1.
Yeah, I just think that there was definitely some stuff going on that they just couldn't make him the face of wrestling at that point.
What are you saying? There was no extradition policy between Fiji and the United States?
It's very possible. It's very possible. So I had to put Snooker on my list, and he wound up at number 10. Number 9, you're not going to like this one, but to me, he's the guy for me who got me into wrestling and was one of the longest tenured champions of all time, and it's Bob Backlund. The guy was a great wrestler.
I thought about putting Bob on the list, and listen, I still have another 5, so you don't know.
That's true. I just thought, but he kind of carried wrestling from the mid 70s through 83 when he lost to the Sheik. I mean, the guy was the champ for 7 or 8 straight years. He was the golden boy. He was never the heel till much later on in his career. And I just thought Bob deserved to be on the thing. He kind of passed the torch, even though he wouldn't necessarily was not agreeable to passing the torch to Hogan. It happened. So I'm gonna keep Bob on my list at number 9. Number 8 to me, I wanted him to make him higher on the list, but he was always more of a secondary guy. But to me, his show was the best of all of them in Piper's Pit. And he was probably the greatest talker of all time. And Roddy Piper's got to make the list. While Roddy Piper wasn't the greatest wrestler I ever saw, or may not have been involved in a lot of the greatest matches I ever saw. Now, again, he was involved in the first 2 WrestleManias. So a huge impact. Piper's Pit to me was bigger. I mean, watching him smash the coconut against Snooker's head, or cutting the Haiti kid's hair, beating the crap out of Frank Williams. Nothing was better than that kind of reality TV of Roddy Piper. So Roddy Piper needed to make my list. At number 7, to me, one of the best technical wrestlers of all time. One of the great wrestlers, singles and tag teams, and that's Bret Hart. I mean, you can't knock Bret Hart as a wrestler, as a character. He made you hate him. He made you love him. To me, Bret Hart, could easily climb up the mountain a little bit more. I just don't think he got the same juice as the guys ahead of him. So that's just my opinion.
I got to say something, because the way you just worded something, which was so true. Back then, especially in the days of Bret Hart and Bret Hart and Hogan and that era of the WWE, you would wake up in the morning or on Saturday and watch wrestling and hate Bret Hart.
Right.
Hate him.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, out of being a bad guy for the last 2-3 years, whatever it was, he comes out and now he's a good guy, and he turned on a dime.
Yeah.
Okay? And what happened? You loved him. You loved him. He come out with the glasses. He put the glasses on a little kid. Be like, look at that. That's cool, and everything else. But that was the way that wrestling was. And the guys that were in the ring at the time, when they were bad, they made you hate them.
Oh my God! Yeah.
The time came for them to be good, and they went from heel to babyface. You absolutely loved them. It ain't that way in wrestling anymore.
No, it's definitely different. Yeah, no, it's a whole different ball game. But that was one of the genius things of Vince McMahon, and that time period was, 1 minute you hated a guy, you wanted to see his legs broken, and the next minute you were rooting for the guy. I mean, I'll give you a perfect example for me was Captain Lou Albano. As a kid, used to love when Albano would get his head handed to him, and then all of a sudden Albano was one of us. He was our guy. You rooted for the guy.
I got to be honest with you. He was number 10 on my list. I changed it.
Did you really?
I changed it while sitting here to the Iron Sheik after thinking about it.
Okay.
I was thinking of his managerial moves and everything else, and his contribution as a manager and the storylines. But
I took off the managers off my list because I wanted to keep it to wrestlers. I thought that while the managers had some impact, it wasn't the same, because I was going to put Gorilla Monsoon and some of these other guys on it, and I took them off and just went strictly wrestlers. So my last one on my first 5 is a guy who was never really tremendously into in the wrestling world, but I've come to watch and see a lot more, is The Undertaker. I think The Undertaker is one of the giants of the thing. He seems like the guy was the policeman of his day in the WWF. People, he kept people in line, off or outside of the ring, and he's still one of the most beloved wrestlers to this day, and one of the greatest characters of all time. I mean, just one of the best characters of all time. So I'll end my bottom 5 with The Undertaker at number 6.
Yeah, good pick.
Okay.
All right, so back to my list at number 5. I got Macho Man Randy Savage.
It's a great call. Yeah, great call.
Got to be on the list.
Yes.
I actually forgot to put him on the list and change the name. I had Sting in his place.
Sting was on my original list, and I changed them. I did too.
I felt as though that Savage definitely deserved to be there more so than Sting. Yeah. Number 4 was where I put The Undertaker. The Undertaker was a character during the character phase of the WWE, WWF, and carried that character for almost 30 years.
Mm.
And listen, everything that you said about him was right, but he rolled with every move in that company, from playing the dead man to
Yeah.
American Badass to everything that he did.
Yeah.
And reinvented himself on some level in every which way you turn.
Yep.
Brothers of Destruction, a lot of different things that he did. The WWE, I remember him as Mean Mark Callis in WCW.
Yeah.
And then when what's that?
I don't remember him that.
Yeah, I remember him watching him WCW in Saturday afternoons.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden, one day he appeared at the WWE, the Survivor Series. I'm like, holy shit, look at this. But back to my list, number 3, I got Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah, he's got to be on your list. He's got to be up there.
Not a favorite, but he took where wrestling left off, him, Triple H, and The Rock, but him more so with his character and everything else, took wrestling to the next.
Oh, absolutely. Took it to a whole new level at that point. Yes, absolutely.
Wrestling doesn't go there without Stone Cold.
100%. Yes.
Number 2, I had to go with Hulk Hogan.
Okay.
The one that brought it up the first time and did what he had to do. We could sit here all day and talk about Hulk Hogan, whether you think he's a good guy, a great wrestler, whatever. But the guy was the right guy, the face of a sport, a face of an entertainment, has done it all, movies, TV, everything.
Yeah.
Okay? One of the greatest roles he ever played was Thunder Lips in Rocky III.
Yes. Yes.
And at the end of the thing, when he was looking to kill Stallone, and then he's like, hey, can we get a Polaroid together? And he's like, yeah, man, sure. And he's signing autographs. And it was just like how wrestling probably was back then.
Absolutely. 100%. Yeah, 100%. Good list so far. Okay, so who's number one? Let me think about this. Who's left and who's Jeff's number 1? I'm going to say your number 1 is Ric Flair.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So
17-time world champion. He wrestled his last match just a year or two ago.
Yeah.
The guy what hasn't he done?
Yeah, it's true.
What has he done for the sport of wrestling?
Yeah, very true.
We talk about somebody that lives, breathes, and bleeds wrestling. Dude, Ric Flair's got to be on the fucking list, man.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
Got to be. And that's my top 10. So real quick, the Iron Sheik, Snooker, Andre, The Rock, Triple H, Savage, The Undertaker, Steve Austin, Hulk Hogan, and then the cherry on the sundae, Ric Flair. This was way harder than I thought.
It was.
There's no Kevin Nash. There's no Scott Hall. There's no Scott Steiner. There's no Sting, no Lex Luger. There's a lot of guys that could have been on that list.
Yeah.
That weren't. Tito Santana.
Yeah, no Ultimate Warrior.
Ultimate Warrior. Who's the guy that fought Savage at WrestleMania?
Ricky Steamboat.
Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. Like, there wasn't enough room for these people.
No, you're 100% right. Believe me, it was a lot tougher. And before we're done, I want to go through their list
Vern
real
Troy.
fast.
Wasn't he the midget?
Vern Troy was the midget. Yes. So my top 5 is pretty close to a lot of same names, just in different spots. So number 5 for me was Steve Austin. Again, not a huge fan of that era of wrestling, but as I've looked back on it and saw, not only was he a great wrestler, but again, one of the better talkers, one of the guys that just lit up arenas, and just ushered in a completely new era. So I had to go Austin at 5. I put The Rock at 4, and I tell you why. I put The Rock there because he's kind of transcended, outside of wrestling, but inside wrestling to this day, he still lights up arenas. One of the better technical wrestlers that you've ever seen for a big guy in some huge matches, and again, just took, along with Austin and some of those guys of that era, just took wrestling to probably the biggest heights since the Hulk Hogan early days of the 80s.
Dude, I think they yes, you're right, but they eclipsed it, man.
I agree, because there was social media, there was more places to see it. So I would.
Hogan was.
Yeah.
You only got to see him once in a while in promos. Maybe he did a match where there was a disqualification, and where his match, like, they would wrestle a different guy, it seemed like, for a month or two.
Yes.
Then they would move on to the next storyline. And it was like Saturday mornings was the introduction to some of these storylines. Maybe he came out and, like Don Morocco came and attacked him, or Randy Savage came and attacked him.
Right.
And that's what his thing was. The Rock and Triple H and all those guys, they were wrestling week after week on live TV. It was just so much bigger.
Yes.
As it got, more modern. It's just unbelievable how much it's changed.
No, I couldn't agree. And I'm gonna come back to The Rock a little bit about being an icon when I get to my number one. My number three, I think, is basically the same as yours. Is Randy Savage. To me, Randy Savage was one of the best wrestlers you could ever see. The gimmick was incredible. It was there from start to finish, and might have been the best promo guy of all time. I mean, you could go back and YouTube some of his promos before big fights, and he just looked like a maniac. Like, whether you saw him there or in the grocery store, he was the same guy. He was just a complete maniac. Now, if you watch,
probably lit out of his mind on coke.
Oh yeah, I mean, but if you watch, and he lived on Staten Island for a long time, so that didn't hurt. So, but if you watch, like, go to YouTube and look up his appearances on Arsenio Hall. Funny character, like just hysterical, just a funny guy, warped out of his mind, but just a funny character. So that's some stuff. That's some stuff there. Now, number two was an easy one for me. Is Andre the Giant. Andre the Giant was a giant amongst monsters. He was he was everything to the WWF before Backlund, through Backlund, and right up to Hulk Hogan. And to me, the greatest, I don't care what 40-something WrestleManias, nothing will ever be WrestleMania 3. It's just, it was the zenith, the apex. I know they've done the bigger ones. But to me, Andre getting slammed by Hogan by far is iconic. It's not just a big wrestling match. Everybody knew about it. Everybody saw it in some form or another. So to me, Andre is a legend. I mean, the guy drank 112 beers or something at a clip. I mean, that's just legendary.
I tried, but I didn't even come close to that.
Yeah. And my number one's Hulk Hogan. It's simple and easy. Hulk Hogan, without Hulk Hogan, there is no wrestling what we see today. It's like Babe Ruth. And to finish my Rock thing was, Hulk Hogan is bigger than wrestling. He's an icon. When you think back to the 80s and you think about some of the things that stood out, right? Think about, the Slinky and the Rubik's Cube. One of the things you're going to think about is pro wrestling and Hulk Hogan and, all the stuff that they were on everything from ice cream to lunch boxes,
yep.
TV shows, cartoons. So The Rock is also kind of fallen into that category. He's kind of become iconic where people will think of, that late 90s, early 2000s wrestling, and they'll start to think of guys like that. And he will fall into that category, The Rock. He's a little later than that, but he's in that category. But Hulk Hogan, to me, wasn't the greatest wrestler I ever saw, Jeff. Some of the most iconic matches. In fact, his matches were so predictable. Like, you just knew, like, when the switch went off and you hit him and he was shaking his head and the finger went, it was over. Like, it didn't matter anything after that. No. He was going to win.
No, so, unless people came out of the back, which didn't matter. He was going to take them all on it. Yeah.
So, to me, Hulk Hogan will always have to be my number one, and only because there is nothing else past. It's like, we always talk about Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig. Gehrig did it quietly, and I would tell you that Gehrig's probably the better player. But Babe Ruth, close to 80 and 90 years after his death, is still everybody knows who Babe Ruth is. Everybody. And I believe that Hulk Hogan will be the same 20 and 30, 40 years from now. Hulk Hogan will be, when you think of wrestling, he's the guy who will pop up. So the only guy I couldn't fit on my list that I really wanted to try to get in was the Warrior, and only because he was so iconic, but he wasn't a great wrestler.
No.
and I just couldn't fit him. And there's some other guys, Bruno Sammartino and Jesse the Body and superstar Billy Graham and Flair.
All names that went through my head too.
Yeah, it just couldn't fit him in. So, but you can't go wrong. Now, I want to just go through the list that I sent you real fast. Here's my problem. Let me see if I could share it, Jeff, so it'd be easier for you to talk about it with me.
Well, I think I have it here. Hold on.
Oh, I can share it on my screen, so hold on. Yeah, I can share it for you. So you should be able to see it. Okay, so that's the list. Okay, can you read that?
Yes.
Okay, I can put it even bigger. So my first problem with is, how could Hogan be number 10? Now, if they're going, they didn't say the top 10 greatest wrestlers. It's a top 10 WWE superstars of all time. So while I love Bruno Sammartino, I'm not a huge fan of Shawn Michaels.
Shawn Michaels got to be on the list, man. He didn't, and Matt Dancer, he didn't make my top 10 list, and he didn't make Tommy's, but it wasn't easy to come up with 10 names. You may think it is, but when you're thinking about what they did, it kind of wasn't easy, to be honest with you.
No, see, to me, when you're thinking of great wrestlers, it's got to be a couple things. One, is he a great technical wrestler? For me, that helps. Two, they got to be great on the mic, right? They got to be, they have to be able to talk and do good promos. And number three, the character's got to be special. There's got to be something to the character where you kind of go, that's iconic. That's fun to watch. And most of the people on my list, now Andre didn't have a character. Andre was just Andre, but he transcended it. But the rest of the guys,
Andre didn't need to be a character. Andre already was a character. He was a human character.
Yeah,
he was over 7 feet tall, 500 pounds. There was going to be nobody like that. And if you're looking at this list right here,
right?
Okay, you look at this list, John Cena. I don't know if he should be on that list.
Right? How's Andre the Giant not on the list?
Yeah, I know that he did his thing. The people that watch wrestling today probably don't even know who Bruno Sammartino is.
And Bruno was a great wrestler, and he was big in his era. But Bruno doesn't transcend the eras. Bruno was, again, I love watching Bruno Sammartino wrestle, but by the 70s, late 70s, early 80s, he was an occasional wrestler, a referee. I don't ever consider him a superstar of wrestling. So
he actually wrestled.
Yes.
A lot of these guys on this list did not wrestle. Steve Austin did not wrestle. Randy Savage did. The Undertaker was a bit of a brawler and an intimidator. John Cena was not a wrestler. Bruno Sammartino was. Shawn Michaels started off as a wrestler.
Yes.
And went on to a different role. Same with Hulk Hogan. He wasn't exactly a wrestler.
No.
Bret Hart was a wrestler.
Oh, yeah. Now, again, I don't have a huge problem at the top. First of all, I don't know how you can put Hogan at 10 and have Cena and Bruno Sammartino and Shawn Michaels ahead of him. It just does. To me, that doesn't make any sense. It's fine he's on the list, and maybe it's not in order. I don't know.
Hogan has to be a top 3 talent on any list.
It has to. It just has to be. He's iconic.
Overall and top WWE. He has to be all-time wrestling and top WWE. He has to be a top 3.
I would agree with that. Yeah, it kind of, when I saw the list, you see a lot of these. I get them a lot. I'm sure you do, and you kind of brush past it. But when I looked at this list, I said, okay, I can tell you that you can make the case that Bret Hart deserves to be the number 1 wrestler of all time. He was a great wrestler, technical, good on the mic, character was good, blah, 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 blah. Could flip back and forth between, babyface and heel. But to me, and I love Piper. I'm a fan. I love Savage. There's no way in the world they're greater superstars, not greater wrestlers, greater superstars than Hulk Hogan was. It just that's what threw me off. And then Bruno shouldn't be on this list. Unfortunately, I hate to say it, but Bruno Sammartino should not be on this list.
I feel as though number 5 and number 6 should not be on that list. I agree.
I agree with you. Yeah, I mean, if you want to tell me Shawn Michaels makes the list, he should be number 10.
Well, Shawn Michaels actually should be, to me, should be higher than 8. Hulk Hogan should be higher.
Right.
Randy Savage is good. The Undertaker is good. I think you drop Hart, Austin, Savage, and The Undertaker each down 1 notch and put Hogan at number 1 on this list if you're talking top 10 greatest WWE.
And then you got to slide in Andre someplace.
Well, you're moving Bruno and John Cena out,
Yeah.
so that means that The Rock, Shawn Michaels, moving up, Hogan's moving up.
Yeah.
So you got 2 other slots. You got to put Andre on there.
Yeah.
And that would give us 9. Who would you give us this?
Snooker. Snooker's got to be in the 10.
Yeah, you think?
Well, again, who? Let's put it this way: who do you think is missing from this list? That was all of those things. Now we can argue. Kevin Nash had a great career. I wasn't a huge fan of Scott Hall. I thought it was a little overplayed the character. There were some other guys who were really good. Again, if you want to get into like the announcer / wrestlers, you can get into that a little bit. Iron Sheik could be on this list ahead of Cena and Bruno, as far as I'm concerned.
I think if you're taking John Cena and Bruno off, I feel as though Triple H deserves one of those spots.
There you go. Okay, I would agree with you over those 2 guys.
He was like a WWE champion like 16, 17, 18 times, whatever it is.
Yeah, no, listen. I would agree. So it's always fun to do these. And next week, I got another one for you. We're going to do something completely different. We're going to do the top 10 worst wrestlers / gimmicks of all time.
Oh boy!
So you're gonna go out there. Who are the worst wrestlers? Maybe most overrated wrestler and the worst gimmicks of all time. So that's going to be next week's top 10 list for wrestlers. I got it written down, so you're stuck with that one. So I'll say
that's fine with me. I'm trying to find how many times he what's his face won.
Okay.
Triple H, how many times he was champion? I'm not going to waste too much time in this, but
hold on, let's see. I'm already on his Wikipedia page.
That's where I am too.
Okay, let's see. Usually at the end of it, they give you the amount of belts. Wow, he's got a long Wikipedia page. Jesus.
Yeah, he does.
A lot of video game stuff. Okay, championships. You ready?
Yep.
Let's see. WWE. He was a 9-time WWF WWE champion. 9 times. He won the heavyweight title 5 times. He won the Intercontinental belt 5 times. The European Championship 2 times. The Tag Team Championship with Michaels once. And WWF Tag Team Championship 2 times with Stone Cold Steve Austin and Shawn Michaels. He also won King of the Ring, Royal Rumble twice, Road to WrestleMania tournament once, 7th Triple Crown champion, 2nd Grand Slam champion. He also won the Best Hair Award. There's a whole bunch of those, but yeah. So it says WWF WWE Championship 9 times, but then I just counted off 5, 10, 12, 13, 14 actual titles.
No, listen, there it is.
Yeah, so I mean,
it would have been more than that, but
yeah, I mean, again, multiple other stuff. So he also has some other stuff here. He had Feud of the Year.
It was the WWE Championship, Heavyweight Championship, which they inherited from WCW. The European Championship was basically the European Intercontinental Championship.
Yeah, he won the Intercontinental Championship 5 times. He won 2 different. I didn't know he was a tag team champion with Stone Cold Steve Austin. I didn't know that.
He might have been a hardcore champion once or twice too.
Doesn't have it on the list that I see. Best Booker Award. It's a lot of weird other stuff. But again, it's hard it'd be hard to keep him off the list. So I'm not a fan of what they wrote, but it definitely opened up some material for us. So it's always good to go back and check. But guys, if you're a fan of wrestling, if today and you haven't watched some of the old timers that we just talked about, like the Sheik, like Hogan, like some of those guys, you should invest your time and go back. Those early days of wrestling, nothing will beat it. As comical as it was, go on YouTube. You can catch a lot of that stuff. And the guy that I wanted to get on the list because he was such an impact for a short amount of time was the Warrior.
But you know what?
He wasn't a great wrestler, but as far as his promos, the character, he just the way he came on. I mean, you remember remember it was like
Of
one of the
course.
biggest topics in the world. Did you see the Warrior last night? And the first time in the press slam, one of the best. One of the best.
Of course, but you know what got me about the Ultimate Warrior?
What?
Unfortunately, for guys like the Ultimate Warrior and everything else, the internet came along.
Yes.
And when you start reading about the internet and about what some of these guys did in their careers and the type of person they were, it wasn't exactly it overtook just how bad of a wrestler he was.
Sure.
And after a while, it was just like, well, this guy was kind of fucked up, and I don't want fuck him. I don't.
Yeah.
I could care less, and that to me what a lot of it was.
Before he died, I used to follow him. He used to do, I don't know if it was Facebook or Instagram.
YouTube videos.
Yeah, and he would do like all this, and he would talk shit about Hogan, and he would like throw dirt on these guys, and this guy used to do coke, and this guy, and I used to follow all his craziness. It was hysterical.
Yes.
And then unfortunately he gets into the Hall of Fame eventually, and then the next day dies. It's just so sad.
Yeah.
But let's see. Hold on a second. He just when the internet was the worst thing for wrestling because you got to see all the warts, all the nuttiness, and the true people, like you said, and most of them don't hold up to scrutiny. That's the
those wrestling would never be able to be the same as what it was back in the fucking. It just couldn't happen because there's just too many outlets, and it's almost like all of these athletes today have some kind of social media, and when they get pissed off and they get pissy, what do? They scrub clean their social media, and the entire world is like, whoa, what happened here?
Yeah.
I mean?
No, it's a good comment. And again, you should do a top 15 boxing list as well because boxing sucks today. Matt, totally agree, which is probably why we don't do a lot of boxing here. Other than the Tyson, Jake Paul, and some of the other stuff, I don't find a lot of juice in boxing. There's no big names. Jeff's a big proponent of, used to be the heavyweight boxer champ was one of the biggest personalities on the planet. Muhammad Ali was a huge star. Mike Tyson was a huge star. Now I couldn't even tell you who the last 3 boxing champions were.
It's a shame.
I mean, think about it. You knew who the middleweights were when you had, Hearns and Hagler and Leonard. You knew the heavyweight champs and, Ali and Frazier and George Foreman and Kenny Norton. After those guys went off, it just kind of went, who cares? We'll do a top 10 boxing. We'll put it on the list.
Tom, carry us for a little bit. I got to go to the little boys' room.
Yeah, do your thing. But
move.
You got it. But Matt, I'm with you. It's boxing hasn't been good since probably the mid to late 90s. With the Holyfield, Tyson stuff, Zeb Judah and Sweet Pea Whitaker and Meldrick Taylor and all that crowd. There was some good boxing then. But today, I don't know what it is. Like you don't see it much on TV anymore. I think the other problem is it's pay-per-view is everything. Back in the day, used to be Saturday afternoon. Used to have the ABC Sports used to have fights. They used to do a lot of the Olympic trials. So you'd see guys like Teofilo Stevenson from Cuba. You'd watch them fight the Americans before going to the Olympics. There was a lot of boxing on TV that you could watch. Now, I can't remember the last time I'm flipping channels and saw boxing on any. You could find pickleball, cornhole, all these different crazy games on any of the ESPN channels, but go find boxing, especially a big fight. And I think that's one of the things that's ruined the sport a little bit is that you can't, if you're the everyday sports fan and somebody puts up a boxing match for $49.99, I'm less likely to watch the fight than if I flipped on ABC or even HBO and it was there and I could watch it and then maybe get behind the boxer or there's some sort of story, like he's got a rival and you want, to me, that's the problem with boxing. It's just not enough there. So you kind of got to pay to go see it. and I don't want to pay to see it. So I would love to see them come back and get some more of the amateur stuff prior to the Olympics. I would love to see them get some of the maybe up and coming boxers and show that. But I don't think it'll ever happen again. Like I said, growing up on a Sunday afternoon, in that February and March before baseball, after football, you would watch every Saturday, every Sunday. You'd have the superstars. You'd have a lot of boxing. And I remember sitting there with my dad and my Uncle Bob, and at my grandmother's house waiting for dinner, and we'd be watching the future stars of boxing go. So we'll do a list. I just don't. I don't. I don't know. It's definitely not going to have anybody who's fought in the last 20 years or better. That's my problem with the list. It'll really just be from that era of boxing that I watched. So, but we'll definitely do it. Again, hang in there. Me and Jeff will be here for another hour or another 45 minutes. I want to talk about the Four Nations hockey tournament next. What a great idea. Whoever came up with this idea really should get a raise. And I believe it was actually the Players Association who pitched this, if what I read is correct. And there was nothing better. There's no way in the world any all-star game could have matched the intensity of that tournament. Guys were hitting. They were playing for pride, which was great to see. From all of Canada, to me, it was nothing better than that tournament. I used to have the old World Cups, and obviously I loved watching the Olympics. I thought it was great drama for TV. Now, the one problem for the tournament, if you want to say they had a problem, and believe me, I don't think they did, was there was no true bad guy. Finland, Sweden, good players, good teams, blah, blah, blah. Canada became a little bit of a villain, so to speak. Their fans booing the national anthem. The whole thing going back and forth in the politics end of the world. I think it gave it a little extra juice, but I will tell you, if they did that regularly, I'd be thrilled. I think that was much better than any skills competition, any hockey game, any all-star game you can have. But I don't think you can duplicate that in the other sports. Just the intensity of the games. Frank Jeffrey came up with a good one, which I'll talk about next. But Jeff, did you catch any of the Four Nations hockey tournament?
No, I didn't watch any of it. But I knew the basic gist of what was going on.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder, like they left out Russia.
Well, I don't believe Russia's allowed to compete in international play right now because of the war in the Ukraine. Like they're not allowed in the Olympics.
They didn't I'm sure they didn't just leave them out because they left them out. There was for it.
And
reasons.
Yeah, I'm sure. I would love to see them expand it a little bit, maybe a couple extra teams, maybe a Russian team and a Czechoslovakian team. But I would tell you, it was great. It was the energy level. Everybody got into it, not just hockey fans, people who aren't everyday hockey. My dad, he'll watch the Rangers here and there. My dad was completely in. Everybody was buying. You watching TV, and people had Olympic jerseys on. It was great. I thought it was incredible.
Well, yeah, it would be cool to see them do something different, but it is what it is, man.
Yeah, I tell you what. Now, I don't know if you saw it the other day. Frank Jeffrey came up with a really good idea to help the NFL. And I don't think it'll ever work because I don't think you'll get them to do anything like that at the end of the season. But he said you get the NFL players and you go, okay, all the guys who played for Michigan, all the guys who played for Ohio State, all the guys who played for, and you try to build one team from a bunch of from a different college and have a little tournament, whether it's, 2 games, the four teams, and you make that basically the Pro Bowl. I think that would be interesting. Still don't think the intensity would be there.
No,
the hockey intensity was off the charts. I mean, just absolutely off the charts. It was great.
the thing with football is that these guys are making way too much money.
Yes, 100%.
Okay? And even if you were to turn around and say, okay, so we're going to take 4 schools: Michigan, Ohio State, USC, and Penn State,
Right.
or Notre Dame or whatever. Okay.
Yeah.
Do all of these teams or all of these schools have enough people in the NFL?
That's the rub. Yeah, yes.
And quality players at the right position.
That's the question of the day. Yes.
You know, I mean, that's the thing. Although I understand that, but you know what? If you wanted to do that and make it a flag football thing, I think you would maybe get more interest in it from the athlete's point of view, because these guys are just making too much money now to be doing certain things. I couldn't see them actually suiting up and going out there in uniform and trying to pass this off as a regular game. You got guys, which, by the way, I want to touch base on the Matthew Stafford thing.
Yep.
You got guys that are making God knows how much money a year, $40-50 million a year. You want them to go out and play anything extra other than an NFL game?
No, you're 100% right. Again, I don't think you can duplicate the Four Nations tournament in any other sport. It just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. I mean, you could try to get away with it.
Baseball. Maybe in baseball.
Well, baseball has the World Baseball Classic. They do it every other year anyway, and there's not a lot of juice to it. And the problem is, you'll get your moments. It's not bad, and I think that might come sort of gets into the mood of it. Basketball could do it. I think there's enough players, and you don't need a ton of players on each team, that you could probably pull it off. The problem with the basketball players is they make no effort to, even during the regular season, to give an effort, let alone on a chat, basically what am I looking for? Exhibition game. The hockey was perfect
because it all comes down to fucking money, man.
Absolutely.
These guys,
100%.
Who's playing for a new contract next year? Who's going to be entering a contract year? Who doesn't want to get hurt because they're looking to make their money?
Yeah.
It's all about money, man.
Absolutely.
Deal, bro.
Absolutely. Listen, and it's a Rue Nation. Again, Hard Rocket Sports. That's Jeff. I'm Tom, and we're here every Thursday night. We thank you for tuning in. We're getting a lot of stuff in this tonight. And I want to get to the main topic of the night, which is absolutely positively the NFL, the quarterback carousel, which, Jeff, seems to get bigger and, more expensive every year. Usually you're talking about the Baker Mayfields and Geno Smiths of the world. Now we're talking about Matthew Stafford and Aaron Rodgers, and guys of that ilk, guys who are, potentially Hall of Famers, who are talking about making $40 and $50 and $60 million a year. It's kind of climbed. And, this year's is really interesting because you got Rodgers. Stafford's not a free agent, but the Rams have given him permission to seek a deal. You brought up Justin Fields, and we got Russell Wilson. You got Daniel Jones. You get Sam Darnold. Kirk Cousins. There's 6 or 7 quality starting quarterbacks, guys who have been starting quarterbacks for multiple years, all out there right now trying to get a job. And the Matthew Stafford one might be the most interesting one of all of them.
But here's the thing.
Go ahead.
Is it interesting? No, because you're talking about Matthew Stafford, 37 years old.
Yep.
Aaron Rodgers, 41 years old. Not Justin Fields, the other one that you just made.
Russell Wilson.
Russell Wilson, late 30s. Okay. These aren't teams. These aren't guys that you could build a team around. On more than one occasion, we spoke about, and this is one thing I wanted to make sure that I got in to say, the New York Giants kicking the tires on Matthew Stafford and the possibility of them going after Matthew Stafford. But then it comes out that Matthew Stafford wants to get paid like he thinks that he should. And at 37 years old, is he worth $50 million? And who's going to give the New York Giants, with all the holes they got, the team to give him $50 million? And if he takes $50 million to go play with the Giants, to me, he's showing that he's a money guy, not a guy that's trying to win. Because, yeah, $50 million is a lot of money, but you already won the Super Bowl once. You know what it feels like. Are you going to do it in New York? Even if you're getting $150 million, are you going to be able to do it in New York? I don't know if he's going to get what he thinks he's going to get because of the money that he's going to be looking for.
Well, again, I think you bring up a great point. I think it's sometimes guys get to the end of the career, Jeff, and they want to put a stamp on the career. Some of them want to win that championship. Maybe like in the case of Rodgers, you want to win that second championship. I think that Matthew Stafford is simply trying to get the most money he can at the end of his career. I don't.
Of course, but you're a Giant fan. Do you want him for $50 million a year?
Well, listen, my obvious answer is no, but here's what I've said from the beginning. I want the Giants to go get a free agent quarterback for the next 2 to 3 years and then find my quarterback, whether it's in this year's draft or next year's draft, and find that guy who might not be ready now, and if I rushed him wouldn't make it, like a Jackson Dart. That's the kind of guy that I would say, okay, I'm not gonna draft a quarterback in the first round. I'm gonna take Abdul Carter. In the second round, I'm taking Dart, and I'm gonna sign Stafford. Now, do I want to pay Stafford $50 million? No, I don't. But what are my options as a Giant fan? I don't want Russell Wilson. I certainly don't want Justin Fields. I thought the interesting one this week was Aaron Rodgers kicking the tires on going to the Giants. Now, they'd have to be out of their minds.
Why? Why would you want that?
No, I'm not saying I would want that. I'm just saying I would not have thought he'd be the kind of guy who would want to go play for the Giants at this point in his career. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're Aaron Rodgers and you got maybe a year or two left in your life, maybe, and I think it's 1 year, maybe, you want to go to the Niners or somebody who's kind of ready to win. Yeah,
a chance.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen stuff that he's going to go to the Broncos. I've seen a whole bunch of stuff. The Giants aren't winning a championship next year. With a good quarterback and some major pickups, maybe the Giants can win 8 or 9 games, which would be a tremendous change from where they've been the last few years. But the Giants, no matter what they do, are not winning an NFL championship this year. So I found it odd to me, other than him maybe wanting to stick it to the Jets by staying in the building and having a good season with the Giants would be his only way kicking the tires. Now, again, the one benefit of Rodgers is there may be a little something left where he won't be an embarrassment on the field and play okay. The one thing about him is he's cheap. You get him for $1 million because the Jets are paying him. So to me, that's the only reason I would say if I was going to pick a quarterback of him and Stafford, and if I got to give up a number 3 and pay him $50 million, yeah, that's a tough thing to do.
I wouldn't want to. No.
Now, the interesting part now, there's a lot of other things. Okay, could the Vikings keep Sam Darnold, trade J.J. McCarthy? Could they not franchise Sam Darnold? Where does Daniel Jones play? I've heard rumors of him going to Pittsburgh. Seems like Pittsburgh is all over making a play for Daniel Jones to be their starting quarterback next year, that he fits the mold of the offense that their offensive coordinator wants to run. So to me, is the first domino Stafford, Jeff? Like, is all the teams looking for a quarterback going to make the try for Stafford first? And if that fails, then the other guys will fall?
I don't think so, Tom. I honestly I don't think so, man.
Is it the money? Is it the money problem?
With Stafford?
Yeah.
$50 million for a 37-year-old quarterback is a lot of money. A lot of money. And especially if there's a lot of teams that, well, actually they announced today the salary cap is going to be $279.2 million.
It went up a few dollars. Yeah, I saw that.
Okay. So that may help some people, but probably not enough people. But $50 million for a 37-year-old man, once again, Tom Brady has spoiled most of the football fans.
I agree with that. Yeah.
And Aaron Rodgers proved that.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think
Eli and Peyton and Drew Brees and Phillip Rivers and
they all tried to take the same track. Yeah.
And 40 seems like the magic number, and somehow Tom Brady slipped past it.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think that Brady getting to 44 and 45 and still playing at a very high level of football.
Extremely high level.
Yeah.
He won the championship his second to last year, didn't he?
Yes, pretty much. Yes. He was 43 or 44 and won the Super Bowl and then won one more year. Made the playoffs and then they got beat. But, was still playing at a high level. So you're right. People are trying to catch that same, if you use that thought process, Matthew Stafford still has 6 or 7 years left in this league.
Dude, the NFL is a complete copycat league.
Yes.
Complete copycat league. They saw, and everybody wants to be the next one to do something with somebody.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about. Some of the people that you made mention of today earlier,
Yeah.
Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson, to me, has proved he could be an NFL quarterback. He's going to be a middle of the road at best NFL quarterback.
Right.
Okay? Justin Fields, once again, I wouldn't mind if the Jets got him because I know that he's not a long-term answer.
Right.
But right now, make the Jets exciting. Do something. Do something with this fucking team. That's why I say Justin Fields to the Jets. Sam Darnold, to me, was just extremely lucky this year. He's going to go back to somebody else's team and turn into Cinderella. The bucket and the mop are going to be there waiting for him. Kirk Cousins, you didn't do it all these other years, bro. You're not going to do it now. Aaron Rodgers, you won once in your career, got to the Super Bowl once in your career. You're not getting to a second one.
Yeah, he would need to go to a team that was
Where the quarterback is like the third most important person on the team.
Yeah, again, he it could be a lot like when Peyton won the Super Bowl with the Broncos in his last year, where Peyton was a non-factor. In fact, he got benched.
Yes, he did. But if you remember one thing about Peyton Manning, okay,
Yeah.
Peyton Manning is Peyton Manning, and Peyton Manning is still a better fucking football player than Aaron Rodgers.
No,
Not today.
agreed. But
Career,
he showed,
yeah, I'm sorry.
No, I get you, but he showed at least that you didn't have to have a great quarterback. They had a great running game, a tremendous defense, and they won because the quarterback didn't do stupid stuff. So
he didn't do stupid stuff because he's smart.
Correct, right? So
fucking smart. The guy's smarts will outweigh just about everything else he could do.
100%. Now, Aaron Rodgers. The problem with Rodgers is this. I think there's still a little bit of fuel in the tank. The problem for Rodgers is all the other stuff. Him being the smartest guy in the room, no matter what room he's in. Him not being a good teammate. That was in full effect for me watching this year. And
watch the clip when Robert Salah goes to give him a hug when he comes off the sideline, and he blatantly pushes him, and he puts that face on, and he walks away.
Yeah.
That said it all. Do you want that on your team? Infiltrating your team. There's people, they keep saying culture in the NFL. People that do what they can to change the culture of an NFL team. Now you got this fucking guy in there and he wrecks it. He destroyed the New York Jets.
I'm not going to argue with you on that one. I'm certainly not going to.
He's never on the New York Jets. I bet you that Salah and fucking what's his face, the GM would probably still be there today.
Yeah, you may be 100% right. So I'm not going to. I'm not arguing with you on that one. It was a mistake and didn't work, and it will not surprise me if he goes into the summer without a job. I think he will get another chance to play if he wants to, but he's going to have to play for a team that probably has no chance to win.
I don't know about that, dude. I don't know.
Yeah, again, anything could change. I think the only thing that's attractive about him now, obviously, is the amount of money you need to pay him, which is very little because the Jets are still filling the foot in the bill, and he is still he's one of the brightest quarterbacks I've ever listened to. Again, I think everything else gets in the way. Stafford is an interesting one to me. I don't know. I thought Stafford was done 2 years ago, but he did play pretty well this year. Would I take him for the next 2 years or, to be a Giant quarterback? I would. I don't like the money because the Giants have $48 million in cap space, and they'll create more by dropping a couple players. But if he's looking for 50, you're going to have a hard time building a team. I just don't want the Giants to draft a quarterback in the first round. I just don't.
In order to fit him in, let's say he gets his $50 million a year.
Yeah.
Okay. That means the Giants have to go into this with $100 million in cap space. No?
Well, you could play with the money. So you give him a 3-year deal.
I know you can play with the money, but if he's going to play it for 2 years, you give him a 3-year deal, he needs $100 million, no?
Well, you can give him a big piece of bonus money, and then the bonus money gets spread out across the years. So, but you can give him a base salary of like $20 million this year, but you're going to pay the price at some point, whether it's next year or the year after. You're going to pay the price for having him. It's just you're
Yes.
pushing the money down the road.
But my point being is, if you want him on your team and you want to clear your books off, and I understand they all play with the numbers. I understand this, okay?
Yeah.
But your plan is to make sure that you can continue to win. Because if you're going to use him and build around him,
Yep.
and now by year 3, he's not there no more.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so he's not here anymore. So what are we going to do? Well, I don't know what we're going to do because we're in salary cap hell right now because we had him for 2 years. And I just think that 50 million or anywhere near 50 million a year for a quarterback at 37 years old, although the Rams didn't they win the NFC West
Yeah.
this year? They quietly won the NFC West.
Yeah, they went to the NFC Championship game, didn't they? Didn't they?
I don't think they went to the NFC Championship game.
It was.
Maybe they did. I don't remember, Tom, to be honest with you.
Hold on a second. So who did the Eagles beat? I thought the Eagles beat them in the playoffs.
Oh, they might have beat them in the first.
It might be. Hold on. NFL.com. Let me just look through the playoff bracket real fast.
I don't remember.
Yeah, I'm drawing a blank. Accept the cookies. Where are you? Come on. I did this already. No, I'm Xing you out. There it is. Yeah, again, I think it's interesting. I heard that they were looking to bounce him, and they were talking to playoff picture. Come on, back there. They were talking to Aaron Rodgers. Like that, there was a chance that they would go after.
Well, that I don't understand why you would get rid of the younger guy and go with the older guy.
I didn't understand it myself. So,
and second of all, I don't understand why, of all of the things that you would do, is why you would get rid of him when you could keep him. And there you go, the perfect bridge quarterback. He's already been there a couple years. He could take one of the newer guys. That if you get a younger guy in the draft or a younger guy in free agency, and you want him to learn, he'd be a good quarterback to sit behind. But you know what? I know one thing for sure. Mrs. Stafford, as pretty as she may be, is not exactly the most welcome person that everybody wants to see. And I hear that they want to move on from him because they're kind of tired of her mouth and her shit.
I read the same thing. Yeah, I agree. I read the same exact thing.
So, here's somebody that played for fucking over a decade in Detroit. And now your wife is getting you thrown out of Los Angeles? I don't know.
So they lost in the divisional round. Conference championship was the Redskins versus the.
Oh, there you go. That's right. That's right. Because everybody thought the Redskins stood a chance, and they ended up getting fucking blown
So
out.
the Rams lost to the Eagles in the divisional round. So just to get it right. By the way, there's a real strong talk of the Redskins bringing back the old logo.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're negotiating with the NFL is what I've read in a couple spots.
Really?
Yeah, so the fans want it, the owners want to bring it back. The players seems like some of the players want to bring it back, but there's a big push for it. The NFL is still pushing back, but the big sticking point is they don't seem to want to call them the Redskins. So they're having a hard time calling it the Washington Commanders with the Redskin logo on the side of the helmet. So I don't know where it goes, but
I can already see, which means guess we'll have to call it the Redskins.
Yeah, I think that's So I don't know if it's out there. I don't know if it's out there to kind of see what the flavor of it would be, but that is out there to be talked about. I do want to bring up just a lot of rules things floating around right now. I want to bring a few of those in while we still got a few more minutes. One, should the NBA limit the amount of 3-point shots in a game? Now,
definitely not.
Yeah, see, now I don't like the game at all the way they play it now. I think there's way too many 3-point shots. Back in the day, if you got 10 shots a game that were 3-pointers, it was great. Today's NBA is just guys heaving 3-pointers from every direction, and I'm not a fan of it. But I don't think you can limit the number the amount of 3-point plays shots.
I have the perfect solution.
Okay,
and then I believe that you'll agree with me, and you'll say that's an excellent idea.
Okay,
play fucking defense.
Right? Yeah, 100%.
Play defense. Figure out a defense that's going to limit the amount of fucking 3-point shots that they could take. If the guy that is taking 3-point shots for that team has been on fire and he's like 23 or 25 in the last 3 games of 3-point shots, got him.
Yeah. No,
I don't know, just simple math to me.
I'm certainly with you. So I'm not a big fan of forcing you can only take 10 shots. You can only throw over the first base 3 times. I don't believe any of that stuff.
And let me ask you something. While you're playing the game, okay, you're actually one of the players on the fucking court playing the game. All right. You're only allowed 10 3-point shots throughout the game. Okay. You're playing the game. How the fuck are you supposed to remember? You're going to have the coach on the side. That's number 8. That's it.
I don't know how you do it. It also, once you use them all up, then the teams pack inside and you can't step out. Nobody's going to step out to you because it's only worth 2 points anyway. So it's too many things to hurt that.
That's like saying that, how about taking care of traveling a little bit more than worrying about shots?
Oh my God, brutal.
My goodness me. I see guys that look like they start at the top of the key and fucking running beyond the fucking foul line halfway to the basket.
100% terrible. Absolutely terrible. Another one. Here's might be the dumbest thing I've seen. I read all week, and I read about it just before I got on the show tonight. So the NFL, they're using a system we call it the Hawkeye system to gauge where the ball is on the football field. So it's kind of the computer thing where so what they're doing is they're eliminating the chain gang. So the Hawkeye system will tell you where the ball is, but the referee still has to spot the football. So the whole controversy of where did the ball go? How far did it go? Did it make the line? Did it not make the line? Is still going to be in question. The referee is going to figure it out, put the ball down, and then this system is going to tell you the ball's on the 23.5-yard line. The ball's on the 23.75-yard line. But it's not going to tell you if it went over the line or not. That'll still be judged by the referees. So they're only doing is eliminating the chain gang, who will be the backup to this system in case it fails. It has to be the dumbest thing I've read.
It is pretty stupid. You know what I would like? You know what I wouldn't mind seeing?
Go ahead.
You want to do this tech thing? That's fine. Leave the chain gang alone. Leave them right where they are. Okay? They're synonymous with the NFL as the referees and the scoreboard and the cheerleaders. Okay? But if there's a dispute, okay, get them the flags. They could take their 3 flags per half, whatever it is, 2 flags per half. They're allowed to challenge any play. If they challenge the spot with the ball and the referee says, well, it's on the 20-yard line, okay, but yet upstairs says no, it's on the 21.25-yard line.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so they're off by a foot, but that foot is what gives them the first down. Then they could go to that system and let that system show them exactly where the ball should be at that point in time.
Okay.
And let the decision make that. All sports should be man-made calls unless there's a dispute. And then if they turn around and they have to say, okay, not during a face mask penalty, maybe a spot for the ball. Did he break the plane? Was his knee down first? Whatever the case is, I could see using a system like that in any sport, football, baseball, whatever, okay, to determine that. But the first call that should be made should be a human-made call, okay? If nobody disputes the call, then it just stands.
Okay.
Maybe they give you 2-3 tries.
Mm-hmm.
But you know that if you fuck up and you lose it, then you lose one or you lose the timeout. However they choose to penalize you for taking up their time. But don't make this the way the game is going to go, because you know what? You're going to lose a lot of fans in all sports if you do that. You need the human element.
I agree with you 100%. 100%
element. If it's the Super Bowl and it was the Chiefs and the Eagles and both teams were undefeated, and this is the biggest Super Bowl of all time. No, like the teams haven't been more evenly matched. And now a play comes and it's a huge play, 4th down, 4th and 1. He gets 1.5 yards, but no, they fuck it up. Then it should be called. Go back to this system, the tech system or whatever they're going to call it.
Right.
Okay? And use that system to figure it out, but don't use that system first. don't use it first, man, because then you're going to sterilize the game.
No, I couldn't agree with you more, Jeff. I'm with you. I say it all the time. The guy making the play at second base makes errors. The umpire can make errors. It's all part of the game, and you don't want to sanitize it. You want it to be as close to right as possible. Don't get me wrong, but I still want the human element as part of the game. That whether it's the players, the umpires, or the trainers, whoever, I want everybody to be part of that system. So I'm with you.
What happens 10, 15 years from now if they start doing this now? 10, 15 years from now, will there be one or two officials up in a booth someplace watching all of this as this is computerized field or whatever, computerized ball is telling you exactly where it is? Move the ball, 3 feet back. Okay, good, right there. Nope, over a little bit to the left. Yeah. Perfect. We don't want that. We don't need that.
No, I could not agree with you more. So
it is going to happen, though. That something like that is going to happen one day when we ain't here to see it.
That's very possible. Yeah, it's very.
Without a doubt, the game is going to change that way because they're going to say this is going to give us a more accurate depiction of what happened in the game. This is what the people want. It's going to be favored for more offense.
Right.
You wait and see. Something like this will happen. Of course, we might not be watching at that time or care about it or be alive.
Right.
But I could see something like that in the next 10, 15 years.
Oh, let's see. That's very possible. Next thing I want to bring up is the Packers are making a big push, so to speak, to eliminate the tush push. The Packers feel it's an illegal play that only gets players hurt. And I'll only say this. I don't really – if you want to stop it, just stop it, beat it. But, you're not allowed to do the same thing on kicks. Whether it's a field goal or an extra point, you used to be able to push one of the defensive linemen through the line to try to block it, and they outlawed it. But yet you're allowed to put 3 or 4 guys behind the quarterback and push them the 1 yard or into the end zone or whatever it is they need. So I personally think that the tush push should be illegal. I think it's it goes against what the rules are in the NFL. And but I say this, they're the only team that seems to do it and do it well, and nobody seems to be able to stop it. So I say go out there and knock the shit out of Jalen Hurts, and they won't do it anymore.
Jalen Hurts does not seem like he's a big dude. Okay, I don't know what his physical size is, but he's not like Ben Roethlisberger big or fucking Cam Newton big or Phillip Rivers big. He's not that kind of quarterback. He reminds me of maybe he's 6 foot 6'1" and about 220, if that. Maybe not even that heavy. I don't know what his size is, but I know this much. If you have 2 or 3 300-pound men pushing on his back, one day something is going to give, like a vertebrae.
Oh, yeah.
Or something, or a disc is going to slip. And then when he's laying on the ground, praying for his mother to come out of the sands with a Band-Aid to put on the boo-boo, then they're going to say, well, shit, maybe we shouldn't have done that. Okay? They got to take the human factor into this too and say that, you have 2 or 3 guys that are that big pushing this one little guy around. Mm-hmm. It's impossible. Next, why don't you just pick him up? Have 2 or 3 guys pick him up and have fucking the other 8 guys stand around him and then just run down the field.
Yeah. No,
and make one of them real trick plays from,
Yeah.
And then when you get close to the end zone, just throw him.
Just throw him in the end zone.
Yeah. Well, so I could see, I think, first of all, tush push, come on, just fucking cut it out.
Yeah, I agree.
What a fucking play. I don't like it.
I agree with you 100%. So, hey, listen, it's that time of year. We're getting through the show. A lot of good topics. I want to end it with the late great Gene Hackman. I don't know if you're a big Gene Hackman fan, you can roll off a couple movies that you love. But to me, I just wanted to bring in the fact that besides some of the great movies, The French Connection and the Poseidon Adventure, The Replacements. He did tons of great movies. One of the most underrated actors of his time. I would tell you that he did one of the, if not the best sports movie of all time in Hoosiers.
I know nothing about this movie other than they've been talking about it the last couple of days.
Oh,
of course, it's a shame. What did you hear? Do you know what happened?
Well, there's when I heard it this morning, they said that they were ruling out any sort of foul play. Then this afternoon, I heard they say, "Well, we're not ruling anything out right now." And all I heard was that they've been looks like they've been dead for a couple of weeks. Their bodies were mummified.
A couple weeks.
Yeah, they said that they hadn't been seen in 2 weeks. It was the wife was dead in one part of the house. Then Matt said something about that they died. She left the car running in the garage, and the carbon monoxide got them. They found her sprawled on the floor in one room with pills on the floor. One of the family dogs was dead in the closet. The other dog was roaming the streets. But they didn't get too deep into how he died. So it still seems to be a bit of a mystery on how they went. Now, she was 60-something. He was 90-something.
Yeah.
So who knows what their mind was at and all that good stuff. But Gene Hackman was very underrated. But, I know you're not a big fan of basketball. Hoosiers is one of those movies that it's basketball. It spends a good part of it on basketball. It's got a great story. The one thing I loved about it, besides the acting was really good, all the players kind of fit the time period as basketball players. Like they didn't look like guys who were flying from the half court line of the 80s and 90s. They looked like they played in the 1950s, but the basketball was so realistic. It was so good. It wasn't like these guys weren't good players. That's the one thing I liked about it. He did a great job. And to me, it's one of the top 3 or 4 sports movies of all time. And, it's a shame the way the guy went out. He hasn't acted in 20 years, but a great actor, lots of great roles. And, again, I can roll off a whole bunch right now what he did. But boy, oh boy, what a shame to go. But do you have a favorite Gene Hackman movie by any chance? Is there one that you go, I remember that one that was really good?
Well, I probably saw more of his movies than I realize. Okay, and I just don't remember any offhand, but I do know I seen one time this one particular clip where he walks into a barber shop down south.
Okay.
And he must have been like a prosecutor or something, or he was an investigator.
Mississippi Burning, probably. Yeah,
it sounds like it's it. And everybody was against him, and he was over there trying to get to the bottom of something. I mean, he came off, I'm not going to say as a tough guy, but he definitely wasn't going to be intimidated, and he was looking for answers.
Yeah.
And it seemed like it was a good movie.
He was a Academy Award nominee for that one.
Listen, 95 years old, you made it 95 years old, and this is how you meet your end. You know what I mean? That's it.
Tough one. Yeah, again, I'm sure we'll hear in the next few days or weeks how it all went down. But this morning it was no foul play. This afternoon it was, we're not 100% sure yet.
The only good thing is that the man was 95 years old. He might not even realize what happened. Very
true. Very true. But a great actor. If you get a chance to go watch some of those movies. I'm not a huge fan of the French Connection. I watched it recently, and I realized how much it was a very not a great movie, but the Poseidon Adventure, great movie. Let's see, a couple more. The Superman movies weren't great. I would tell you, stay away from the Superman. Uncommon Valor, 1983, great movie. Trying to think a couple other ones that were good. He was good in Wyatt Earp, short one. Crimson Tide, 1995, played a submarine captain. Incredibly great movie with Denzel Washington. So good. Behind Enemy Lines, he was really good in that one with Owen Wilson. Some good movies, great actor, tough way to go out. Wanted to make sure I paid a little homage. But again, Hoosiers, top 3 or 5 best sports movies of all time. No doubt in my book. So,
listen, it's a shame because once again, this is one of those people that will not be replaced.
Yep.
Only because the people coming up behind them just aren't capable.
Yep. Very true.
I know we're near the end, but real quick, who would you say is a top 5 actor? However you want to say top actor in today's day and age.
Well, today's day and age, that's a tough one. I was talking about that with a buddy of mine at work, and we were trying to come up with, everybody always puts Pacino on the list. And while I dislike De Niro's politics, I think he's a dickhead. It's hard to knock most of his film credits. But Pacino, honestly, since the 80s or before, I can't think of the last great Al Pacino movie that came out. You know, Godfather, great movie. Dog Day Afternoon, great movie. You know, he had a few movies back in the 70s that I would put up with anybody's. But when you got to the 80s and beyond, I can't think of too many movies that Al Pacino was in that I went, he was great in that movie. Today's actors, I don't know, man. It's a really good question. You know, I know most people don't like him, but I do like Tom Cruise and his movies. I think he does a really nice job.
Time is he? Christ Almighty, he's got to be 65.
He's 60, yeah.
Oh, he's got to be
63. I think he's 63.
So you know his action making movies are coming near.
Yeah,
I guess, you know.
Yeah, I would tell you. I mean, the younger generation, I don't know if I could give you one. I would tell you, I can't think of the last. You know, there's a lot of good shows that I've watched. The Reacher series with this kid, was his Lickman, Richie Lickman, something. You know, the Reacher series, great guy, great job. I don't think he's a great actor, so I don't know.
I know. I watch clips, the fighting clips of those all the time on YouTube.
That is one of the best series if you ever got time and you're sitting down, you want to watch.
Yeah,
it's
but
the third season right now. Great stuff.
You know, listen, you watch stuff from, like, you know, you said Robert De Niro and Al Pacino when they were making movies in their heyday.
Yeah.
And just watching them, that they could convince you to do things. Meanwhile, you knew it was a movie.
Yeah, I agree.
It's not the same, man.
Yeah, I mean, I would give you that there are guys I like to watch. Guys like Mark Wahlberg. I think Mark Wahlberg does a lot of good movies.
I could go with that.
But I don't know if this guy I would say is a great actor. Like, oh my God, that guy is fantastic actor. I don't know. I don't know if I watch enough movies to give you that. So, you know, I'm not a big fan of the Will Ferrells and the Adam Sandlers of the world.
No, that's a different kind of actor, man. Comedy acting is something that is silly. It's silliness.
Yeah,
there's very few that can actually do it that people enjoy. To me,
yeah, I agree with you. But
Jim Carrey was a fucking idiot. Will Ferrell's a fucking idiot.
Yeah,
like it.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the dumb actors. You know, it's the same character in just different names with different movies.
Yeah,
the guys act the same, especially Will Ferrell. All the characters are basically the same person.
Yeah, I'm not. Very true.
I tell you what, the guy and he's a little older now, so it's hard to call him a younger actor. But I liked a lot of Alec Baldwin's movies. I think he's a really good actor. He's a big dickhead, but I thought he was a good actor. But again, he's a guy who's probably 67, 68 years old. So as far as young actors go, you know, I'll take Mark Wahlberg's probably in his 40s or 50s. So
entertainment as a whole is starting to suffer, and there's not very many people coming up behind these people.
True. Very true.
Music, sports, there'll always be somebody with sports, but sports has lost a lot for a lot of different reasons, and it's a shame, man. A lot of these things just ain't what they once were.
Oh no, dude, no argument for me, my man. No argument for me. But listen, great show. Another one in the books. 2 hours flies by real fast, and we're gonna end this one right here. I gotta get some sleep. I am flat out exhausted this tonight. I'm looking forward to getting some sleep right now. But it's been fun. We did some wrestling. We did some football. We did hockey. We got a little bit of everything in there. We even got a little acting in there, a little conversation about the modern actors. So I'm glad everybody stuck in with us. If you did, great. If you didn't, thank you anyway for tuning in for a minute. In the meantime, thank you all. We do appreciate it and look forward to coming back next Thursday night to do it all over again. So by all means, do. Jeff, anything you want to end with?
No, dude. Other than you pretty much covered it. It was a pretty cool show. We touched a lot of good subjects, and listen, the wrestling to me is always a lot of fun. Man. We could just talk about that probably for hours and hours.
100%.
You know, brings me back. It really does. It does bring me back a lot, man.
100%. Yep, to good times. I want to thank all the guys who came out Sunday to the belated Christmas jam. It was a lot of fun to see everybody, and it was a blast to play a little bit. So thank you to all the guys who did that. Look forward to next year's jam already if we don't do something in the middle. But
sadly, everything was overshadowed by an event.
Yes.
And I don't know if that person is watching, but, you know, listen, hopefully we get past this and You know, we all want to be there.
Yep.
And we all got to make a sacrifice once in a while. And hopefully you see it that way. And next year we're all together there again playing.
That would be the best thing ever. So we'll see what happens, but that's a little ways off. But in the meantime, thanks to all the boys who came out, and I'm looking forward to seeing everybody again on the next one next year or maybe sooner. We'll see what happens. But in the meantime, this must come to an end for now. So I will say the usual thank yous for everybody who paid attention to us and listened to us tonight and got involved. The Matts and Will Cloaks, my dad, and of course we'll do this again next week. So that's the end of this one. So thanks from let's do it the way we always do it. I want to thank you guys. Have a great night. Great rest of your night, a great rest of your week, a great weekend, a great next week. And we hope you come on back and do it all over again with us again next Thursday night. So for Jeff Towinski, myself, and everybody at the Hard Rocket Sports Show, we say thanks, and we'll see you next week. Have a great week. Hefe, I'll talk to you off the air.
You got it, man.
Later, man.
Later.